Last week, I hosted an investor mastermind up at my cabins in Lakeside, Arizona. And there was about 6 of us up there, and it was fantastic. It really, really was fantastic. And one of the reasons that these mastermind groups are so great is because you're able to connect with other people in the same field that you're in. For me, it's real estate investing. And so I was able to connect with other real estate investors and talk about what their goals are, and if what they're doing is actually leading them to their goals or not. And it was very insightful for me, absolutely insightful. In fact, when it was my turn to go and kind of share where I wanted to be and what I was doing currently, it became pretty obvious that there were some things in my life which are good, but which are still keeping me from reaching my goals. And I like this concept that was taught to me by a religious leader, which was there are things that are good, there are things that are better, and then there are things that are best. And I think that I've been doing things that are good and better, but they've been getting in the way of the things that are best. And sometimes that's hard because you want to do things that are good, and it's hard to let go of things that are good because you know they're good, but sometimes they get in the way of things that are best, and sometimes the things that are best aren't as fun. And that is what I was finding, is I was avoiding some of the things that would have been best for me to do because of my identity, because of who I identify myself as. And so, in other words, I'm a therapist. I'm here in my office, my therapy office in Mesa, Arizona, and I obviously am dressed down for today, but regardless, I'm here in my office because I'm about to do an investor meetup in my group room. That doesn't matter. What does matter is this. I've been a therapist for a long time, and I find a lot of value in being a therapist and helping families and helping kids. And I've been doing it for nearly 20 years, and I'm pretty good at it. I've helped thousands of families in Arizona. And so that has kind of been my identity. And one of my goals this year is to make $1 million. And that may sound like, a lot of money to lots of people. It may sound like a little bit of money to some people, and it doesn't really matter. The specific number may not matter, but what it does matter is what I plan on doing with this money. Over the last couple of years, because the market has been down, I've taken on a lot more debt than I've wanted to, and so I feel the stress of that debt. And it's limiting me to some of the things that I want to do. And so if I was able to pay off a big portion of that debt, it would just be very relieving to me. And so, and not just to me, but also to my wife, my family. And so that has been my goal this year that I set at the very beginning of the year. I want to create $1 million to basically pay off a big chunk of this debt. And so that is my goal. And the other day I was in a therapy session and I was working with this kid and everything was going great. And then after the session, I opened up my phone and I saw a wholesale deal that had come in. And it was a deal that was actually right next door to one of my properties. In fact, it was a house that was just awful, tons of trash. And so I was so excited that showed up on the wholesale list. But the thing that made me sad is it showed up on the wholesale list during a time where I was in the middle of a session and I wasn't able to, respond. And so because of that, I didn't see it until after my session. And when I went to send an email to the wholesaler saying, hey, I'm really interested in this property, it was already gone. So the good news is somebody's going to go and make that property nice next to my property, which will be great because it's going to improve the value of my property. But the bad thing is I probably could have made at least $30,000 on that deal. And I was in the middle of a session and I enjoy, again, being a therapist, but at the same time, I'm recognizing that I've been a therapist for a long time. I've got a lot of value out of it. I've helped a lot of people. But I think at this moment in time, I'm going to start lessening my hours of therapy because of some of the goals that I have right now to help shift my finances to get into a better financial position and paying off a lot of this debt. So while I was up at the cabin, one of the group members, as I was kind of sharing my experience and story, they said to me, so how much money did you earn, in that therapy session? And, I charge about $160 an hour for my therapy. And so I said, I made $160 in that therapy session. He said, and how much could you have made if you had seen that deal come in and reached out and actually purchased that property? I probably could have made about $30,000 on that property. And so it kind of became pretty obvious that even though I enjoy therapy, I'm trading my overall goal that I have for this year to get out of all of this debt for staying a therapist and keeping the number of therapy hours that I have. And I realized that because that's who I identify as a therapist, it's keeping me from being able to meet those other goals that I have. And so I'm really grateful that I went on this mastermind retreat, because it became very obvious that there are certain things in my life that I need to change in order to meet the goals that I have. And not only that, but I also recognize that I do like 6 different things, and they all take up a lot of time. And really only one of them is highly profitable, whereas the other ones are not very highly profitable. And I've just had a hard time letting go of certain things. And so after the retreat, I'm going to be pulling way back on my therapy hours, probably only providing 5 to 10 therapy sessions a week. And then what I'm going to be doing is letting go of managing a lot of my portfolio to my assistant. I have an amazing assistant. She's been super helpful. She's really kind of jumped on board and taken kind of ownership of the responsibility of handling a lot of these properties. And so it's been great. And one thing I'm going to do to be of help to her, and also to make it so she stays, is I'm going to actually help her buy some properties as well. And then I'll do it as kind of like a vesting schedule where over time she gains ownership of these properties. And so that is going to be my plan. And I'm going to be pushing off to her a lot of these tasks that have low dollar value to me, but that are still very important, that I'm still responsible for. I'm going to be pushing that to her so that she can take those tasks. And I'm going to be focusing right now mostly on flipping and coaching. And so those are the 2 things I'm going to be focusing on now in order to change my financial position so that I meet the goal that I have for this year. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted to share it with you, the value that people get when they do masterminds. I wanted to share with you that it's hard to let go of certain things, but in order to go where you haven't been, sometimes you have to do things that you haven't done. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful. And if it is, if you are looking for somebody to kind of guide you through learning how to invest in real estate, go ahead and reach out to me. I am happy to help. I've helped lots of people learn how to invest in real estate. And the average person that starts working with me for a year usually buys about 3 properties and increases their net worth by about $100,000. So if you're interested in doing that, go ahead and reach out to me. And that's about everything for today. So I hope that you have a fantastic day.